Hello, I am Echo, and I will be narrating the secret mission of USS Trumpeter. USS Trumpeter, DE-180, was in service with the United States Navy from 1943 to 1947. She was sold for scrap in 1974. The USS Trumpeter embarked on a covert mission during the Cold War, and now we'll delve into its fascinating history. She was named in honor of Navy Aviator Lieutenant J.G. George Nelson Trumpeter, who was killed in action during Operation Torch on 8 November 1942. The ship was laid down on 7 June 1943 at Newark, New Jersey, by the Federal Shipbuilding and Drydock Co., launched on 19 September 1943. Sponsored by Mrs. Hazel Vivian Trumpeter, mother of Lieutenant Trumpeter, and commissioned on 16 October 1943. The USS Trumpeter embarked on a covert operation during World War II, and now we'll explore the Battle of the Atlantic while Trumpeter was completing outfitting at New York Navy Yard only 3 days after her commissioning. Sparks from a workman's burner set off a small fire on a line between the dock and the port side of the ship. An alert fire watch at the scene quickly extinguished the fire, and damage to the new destroyer escort was averted. On the 28th, she underwent dock trials and deperming, and finished the month with underway trials in New York Harbor. Early in November, Trumpeter departed New York, setting her course for Bermuda. She moored in Port Royal Bay on the 6th, and in the following weeks participated in extensive shakedown and indoctrination exercises. Anti-submarine tactics, convoy escort technique, gunnery, night illumination, cruising and screening exercises occupied her days. Each evening, she returned to Bermuda to anchor in Great Sound. Anti-submarine runs, practice fueling at sea, towing, mail passing, and emergency steering drills readied the new destroyer escort and her crew for the rigors of wartime Atlantic operations. At last, on 2 December, Trumpeter got underway for New York, where she underwent alterations and voyage repairs. On 16 December, she departed New York and set her course northeast. The same day, she moored at Naval Air Station Quonset Point and reported for temporary duty with the Anti-Submarine Development Detachment, Atlantic Fleet, ASDVLNT. There she took part in testing newly developed anti-submarine gear until 17 January when she departed Narragansett Bay for New York. After repairs to one of her main propulsion generators, she resumed her duties at Quonset Point, Rhode Island, remaining there until 13 February when she detached from ASDVLNT and made way for New York. Following routine upkeep, she got underway with Task Group TG 27.2 on the 20th, steaming southward with 2 escort carriers and 2 destroyer escorts, bound for Brazil. Late in the morning on the first day of March, she arrived at Recife, Brazil, reported for duty with the U.S. 4th Fleet, then continued on to arrive at Rio de Janeiro on the 7th. She moored at Bahia, Brazil on the 17th for 10 days availability and routine upkeep. On the 28th, she got underway with, and then on the 31st, she rendezvoused with and reported to Commander, Task Group, CTG, 41.6 for her first anti-submarine patrol. For the next 5 months, Trumpeter conducted patrols out of Brazilian ports with anti-submarine task groups. The escort carrier Hunter-Killer Group was an innovation in anti-submarine warfare, which effectively blunted the efficiency of German submarines in the Atlantic shipping lanes. Each group composed of 1 escort carrier, and its screen of destroyer escorts or old destroyers, aggressively sought out and destroyed enemy submarines in Atlantic waters with notable success. When Trumpeter began patrols in March 1944, however, German submarine activity was not so extensive as it had been earlier in the war, and many of her patrols were uneventful. In June, while Trumpeter was patrolling in mid-Atlantic with Solomons, a plane from the carrier detected the presence of a German submarine. Planes dispatched from Solomons eventually sank the submarine. While Trumpeter remained behind to screen the carrier, Straub set out for the area of the sinking, some 40 miles away, to rescue survivors. The 2 DEs picked 23 Germans from the waters, but the flyer, whose bold low-altitude bombing run had finished off the U-boat, was still missing when the search was ended. Trumpeter's routine of patrol, interspersed with periods of repair and upkeep, was varied in August with 4 days of anti-submarine exercises and night battle practice out of Recife. She departed on 1 September and on the 3rd joined an en route to Rio de Janeiro. During 2 weeks in that port, she underwent availability and prepared for her first Atlantic crossing. Finally, on 22 September 1944, she departed Brazilian waters escorting transports and carrying troops of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force bound for the European theater of war. On 4 October, she anchored in Gibraltar Bay, but less than 6 hours later was again underway for the East Coast. Arriving at New York on 13 October, she commenced 30 days of availability and dry docking. Then on 14 November, she set her course for South America, conducting firing practice as she steamed southward. At 17:00 on the 23rd, she saw the welcome sight of the Fortaleza, Brazil, harbor blimp, proceeded to that Brazilian port, paused briefly, and then steamed on to arrive at Recife on 25 November. In December, she engaged in gunnery practice and, later in the month, made routine patrols out of Recife with and. On the 24th, she moored at Bahia, Brazil, and remained there undergoing availability until 2 January, when she got underway again for patrol. In the next 3 months, she continued Atlantic patrols. Then, early in March, she escorted from Recife to Montevideo, Uruguay. Trumpeter departed Uruguay on 22 March 1945, steamed northward, and arrived at New York on 8 April. Following availability and dry docking, she took part in anti-submarine exercises in Casco Bay. On 24 April, while patrolling off the New England coast, she struck an underwater object which damaged her sonar gear, making it necessary for her to detach from the task group TG-22.6 and put in at Norfolk, Virginia, for repairs. She rejoined the task group on the 26th and into May continued anti-submarine patrols. On 8 May, she arrived at New London, Connecticut, to begin anti-submarine warfare exercises. Later in the month, she proceeded to New York, where she joined the screen of UGS 94 when it departed the United States on the 22nd. Stopping briefly in the Azores, Trumpeter steamed for Mediterranean ports. The convoy members dispersed to their various destinations on 7 and 8 June, and the destroyer escort continued on to Iran for a short stay before departing the Mediterranean. After refueling at Horta, she steamed on, arrived at Boston, Massachusetts on 19 June, and began a prolonged period of availability. The USS Trumpeter embarked on a covert operation during World War II, and now will explore its crucial role in the Pacific War underway again on 23 July. She set her course for the Caribbean, and on the 27th, arrived at Guantanamo Bay for refresher training in gunnery, anti-submarine warfare, damage control, and shore bombardment. On 10 August, she departed Cuba and steamed, via the Panama Canal Zone, to San Diego, California. Following a period of availability, Trumpeter departed the West Coast on the 27th on orders from the 11th Naval District. She arrived at Pearl Harbor on 2 September and alternated exercises with carrier rescue duties, until late in October when she began weather station patrols in the North Pacific. She returned to the Hawaiian Islands in December, and on the 18th got underway for the Panama Canal Zone. She arrived at Boston early in January 1946 and remained in East Coast ports until February when she reported to the U.S. 16th Fleet at Green Cove Springs, Florida, to await inactivation. She was decommissioned on 14 June 1946. Her disposal was deferred pending a possible transfer to a foreign government, but the transaction failed to materialize, and Trumpeter's inactivation was completed in December 1947. Her name was struck from the Navy list on 1 August 1973, and her hulk was authorized for sinking as a target in Atlantic Fleet tests. Instead, however, she was sold for $94,666.66 on 18 June 1974 to the Boston Metals Company of Baltimore, Maryland, for scrapping. The USS Trumpeter embarked on a covert operation during the Vietnam War, carrying sensitive intelligence.